This is Michael Popok, Legal AF. We got some breaking news coming out of The Guardian and their investigative reporting about Mar-a-Lago as Jack Smith reaches his final recommendations to indict Donald Trump related to the stolen and mishandled national security information, top secret classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. What's the new information? That's what this hot take is about. Evan Corcoran has told the grand jury and prosecutors, according to at least two sources, and told his own associates that he was misled about the location of documents, classified national security matters, materials at Mar-a-Lago by those closest to Donald Trump himself, and that Donald Trump never told Evan Corcoran or disabused him of the notion that the only location for those documents was just in one storage room, when there was another 100 that were sitting just inside of Donald Trump's office and desk. But Evan Corcoran never searched those areas. He was told not to search those areas. He was told that all the information, all of the retained, improperly retained documents from the White House were sitting in one location. But that was a lie. So now you have the Department of Justice trying to get to the bottom of why were there boxes being moved by Walt Nauta, Donald Trump's personal valet, after the subpoena was issued and while they were responding to it. This is even before the search warrant. The subpoena, which is a demand under penalties of perjury and contempt if you fail to respond, is issued by lawyers under the auspices of a federal judge and requires that documents be turned over pursuant to that subpoena. If not, then there's a court process for contempt. If that doesn't work, you go in and you get a search warrant, which is what they did. So you've got a June subpoena and an August search warrant against Donald Trump. Why, the Department of Justice wants to know, why did Donald Trump give the instructions for Walt Nauta to move boxes in and out of the storage room, that same room that they directed Evan Corcoran to look for documents? It was the only place. They spoon-fed, misled Evan Corcoran, the lawyer for Donald Trump, and said, just look in the storage room. That's where all the documents are. Don't go into daddy's office. Don't go into daddy's desk drawer. There's nothing for you to see there. And Evan Corcoran said, oh, okay. But Evan Corcoran's problem is he signed, along with Christina Bobb, a certificate under penalty of perjury that they conducted a diligent search and that they only found 38 documents, top secret classified national security documents, and they put it in a sealed envelope and gave it to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice already knew from other witnesses that that was false, that there were documents in other rooms at Mar-a-Lago, specifically the office and desk. So they caught Evan Corcoran in a trap. Now, Evan Corcoran's defense is, that's what I was told by my client. That's what I was told by Donald Trump. I was told that the only place to look, I needed to look, was the storage room, and that's the only place I looked. And I needed Walt Nauta to open the doors because he had the keys. And when Walt Nauta asked to sit in while I did my review, I said no, but that's the only place that I searched. So that's the new testimony we know now from Evan Corcoran. Why do we know about it now? Why haven't we heard about this before? Because, let's be frank, the Department of Justice is doing strategic leaking of this information to put pressure on people like Walt Nauta, who as of right now have not fully cooperated with the Department of Justice. In fact, Walt Nauta's lawyers have been told by the Department of Justice and the special counsel prosecutors that their client is in deep, deep shit, that their client has not been truthful and accurate in giving his information to the Department of Justice, which is a potential crime. And they want Walt Nauta to play ball against Donald Trump, and as of yet, they haven't. So you see these strategic leaks that I can report on in this particular hot take. That's where we are as of right now. We know that Evan Corcoran is throwing Donald Trump under the bus and saying, I was misled. I was sent into the storage room. That's where I was told documents were, and I didn't search anywhere else. And how do we know all this from Evan Corcoran? because he turned over 50 pages of attorney notes that he took in conversation with his client, Donald Trump, Donald Trump's aides, Walt Nauta, and others. And he had to turn it over to the Department of Justice because he was ordered to, when the Department of Justice sought to have him drop the attorney-client privilege, the most sacrosanct privilege between a lawyer and a client, got ripped away from Donald Trump, who holds the privilege, and his lawyer, Evan Corcoran, because Judge Beryl Howell, the then chief judge of the D.C. Circuit Court, who oversees all grand juries, she ruled that there was likely a crime or fraud being perpetrated by Donald Trump. And therefore, under the crime fraud exception of the attorney-client privilege, she stripped the attorney-client privilege away from Donald Trump, made Evan Corcoran testify without it about every deepest, darkest conversation he had with his client had to be revealed to the grand jury about Mar-a-Lago and the handling of those documents. And his own documents, his case, his file, his client file had to be turned over. And now we know how big of a problem it is and what the focus of the Department of Justice is. They have video surveillance cameras from the Trump Organization out in front of the doors of the storage room, and they saw two things. Well, they saw one thing, and one thing they didn't see. They saw Walt Nauta the day before, right after the subpoena was issued, moving boxes in and out of the storage room, and they don't know exactly where the boxes that were taken out went next. Is that Bedminster? Because we have a maintenance worker who testified already and has cooperated with the Department of Justice that he helped Walt Nauta load an SUV to drive to Bedminster from Mar-a-Lago. For those that are not from this country or don't know geography, that is a 18-hour drive from Mar-a-Lago to Bedminster, New Jersey, filled with boxes. Department of Justice wants to get to the bottom of it. Will we see a subpoena and or search warrant for Bedminster Golf Course? I predict we will. But they're trying, the Department of Justice, to get Walt Nauta, right, to flip. He hasn't as of yet. These strategic media placements of this news, like today, will help them with that. Evan Corcoran and his testimony that he got misled by Donald Trump and that Donald Trump never told him to go look where he knew the boxes were in his office, that's a problem. That's called criminal intent for Donald Trump as they try to come up with the motive for why this ex-president held on to these documents and wouldn't let them be pulled out of his dead, cold fingers. Why? And of course, now we know the Department of Justice is also searching through records and subpoenas about foreign relations between Donald Trump and foreign powers, because they found boxes and documents related to those foreign powers in the office, in the desk during the search warrant. That's the connected links there. The new reporting today will continue to follow. Evan Corcoran saying, I was misled by my own client. Walt Nauta talking about moving of documents and having him cooperate. The video camera, as I said before, they saw Walt Nauta. What they didn't see is there are gaps in the video. This is like the Nixon, 18 minutes of missing audio during Watergate. Where are the video? Where's the video for critical moments? They've already, the Department of Justice have subpoenaed and interviewed Matt Calamari and Matt Calamari Jr., the two heads of security for the Trump Organization. They're cooperating. And they've subpoenaed the company, the video surveillance company that manages those video cameras. Why are there gaps? And the Department of Justice is trying to get to the bottom of it as they tie all this together in time to go make their recommendation in a report to Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, who will then, after the full presentation of the material, right? One of the most important historical PowerPoint presentations in American history is coming up with Jack Smith, his team of prosecutors, and Merrick Garland on at least Mar-a-Lago, if not the 3 or 4 other grand juries that are looking at other Trump criminality. And then from there, back to the grand jury to seek the indictment. which will initially be sealed and then unsealed for the American public. That's where we're at. For those that are scratching their head and rubbing their eyes, like, can they believe it? Justice is finally going to be done. Justice is finally going to be done. People that didn't think Donald Trump would ever be indicted or convicted. His entities got convicted 17 times in New York for tax fraud. He's been indicted. Now we're talking about the federal indictments, likely by Jack Smith and his team, that have been working round the clock for the last 8 months. And then, of course, Fani Willis in Georgia, the prosecutor who has already declared that she's going to be seeking an indictment of people. Read that as Donald Trump and others at the end of July, the beginning of August. This is the summer of accountability, right? Last year was the year of investigation. This year is the year of indictment and trial setting. And 2023 and 2024 are the trials. Yes, it's going to coincide with the U.S. election. But so what? He'll have to run. Donald Trump will have to run for office as the leading, as he likes to say, the leading candidate for the Republican nomination or for the whole presidency as a twice impeached, multiply indicted, potentially convicted, adjudged sex abuser candidate. And if that is okay with the majority of the Republicans that vote, so be it. He will go down in flames and lose horribly to the President of the United States, Joe Biden. That's the reporting for today. I'll continue to report on the Evan Corcoran, Mar-a-Lago, Walt Nauta connections on hot takes just like this one, only on the MeidasTouch network. On Wednesdays and Saturdays, I do I co-anchor a podcast that is at the intersection of U.S. law and politics called Legal AF. You can follow us on YouTube and every place you get your podcasts. And if you like what I'm doing on content like this one, give me a thumbs up. It's helpful to what we do. It's meaningful to me, as are the comments. And you can follow me, Michael Popok, on all things social media at MS Popok. This is Michael Popok, Legal AF reporting.
Hey, Meidas Mighty. Love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.